Traders, stop stressing over the S&P 500. Get structured daily outlooks, levels and actionable setups for ES futures, delivered before the market opens, plus weekly insights on crypto, stocks, and commodities. Subscribe today on Substack. Conquer the markets.
Welcome. Here we are. It is Monday, and we are back. And once again, the trade plan from Sunday was spot on. Funny, actually, we came up a lot higher today than I expected on this gap up. I was hoping to be able to actually get it on the long and take us to 05, but we opened above 05, which we'll get into here shortly. So we got quite a bit to talk about today, other than the fact that you could have just got long and forgot about it. But other than that, we'll kind of touch on some details and get into that goodness here. So before I do that, however, let me share this real quick. And what one is this? That is not the right thing. Hang on. Let me add this. Sorry about that. Stop screen. Here we go. Share screen. All right. So first, what I want to do is make sure that anyone who is currently not following, obviously, please make sure you follow me here on my socials. We are always giving away 30-day trade plans. All you have to do is like and follow. Ryan Bailey Edge. It is the same across everything. Substack, Twitter, YouTube. It is all uniform. Just look for me, follow me. Check it out. I'm constantly posting on Twitter, and I do some notes on Substack as well. And I just wanted to thank everyone who has been signing up for the trade plans. I mean, we've had a gangbusters turnout with this. I turned a lot of people onto these 30-day free trade plans just so that people could get an idea of how good they're working out. And it's incredible the response that I'm getting here. We're getting 5 or 10 people a day signing up for the trade plans. And a good portion of these people are actually converting into paid members, and they're finding value in the plans. A lot of them are coming into the Discord room. And so I thank you guys very much for appreciating my work and allowing you to trust me. I really appreciate that. It means a lot. I work really hard on these trade plans, and this is something that I focus on and I do all the time. So long story short, thank you so much for allowing me in, and I really appreciate it. So with that being said, like and follow, and we will get on with it right now. So let me see what we got here. So today was an insane day, actually. We knew we were bullish on Friday. I come out with the weekend review on Sunday. We had talked about how, this market was going to go up. I had every reason to believe that we would end up at 68.05, and we did. What's funny is we actually ended up there before the market even opened. We were there basically when I went to bed. I generally don't look at the market too much in the evening time or on Sunday, maybe a glance here and there. I'm an RTH trader. I like trading the cash session. So it caught me a little off guard that we were up so much. And but we still made it work. It was pretty nice. We actually were up 100 points today, including the gap, which was pretty wild. So how you doing, Pips? It's good to see you here. So before I get into the trade plan, there's one thing that we've been talking about quite a bit in the room, and I guess what is happening here? Hang on one second. I don't know why I thought I was sharing my screen here. So tomorrow is Veterans Day, guys. And, a lot of people are wondering, is the market open? What have you? Yes, the market is open. Okay. So I went ahead and checked it out. It's going to be open. The stock market's going to be open. Futures market's going to be open. It's going to be just the normal day like usual. And so things won't skip a beat. I do want to share this news as I think it's important context for us throughout the rest of the week. We currently have the government anticipating an opening as well. The Democrats and the Republicans seem to have come to a deal. And so this is also giving us some bullish gas for today as they finally, it's been almost 45 days now. So pretty long. Tomorrow is a bank holiday. Okay. We don't have any news on Wednesday either, but it is just all Fed speak. So be careful. Thursday, we got red tags, and Friday, we got red tags. So I wanted to show you guys this because, people have been asking me, we open tomorrow, what are we doing? Yeah, apparently the market is still cruising. So With that being said, let's go ahead and check this out as well. So in the weekend review, I talked about Bitcoin. You guys know I've talked about this 100 times. Bitcoin is the lead for me, especially on the weekends. Bitcoin looks like shit. More than likely, the market will look like shit. But on Saturday, we actually came down into a nice daily spot, and I went ahead and posted a tweet that I was long. We even talked about it right here, that as long as Bitcoin holds this area, I think we can get to 108,000. Well, Bitcoin had a nice, amazing pop. Over the weekend, we held this daily leg here, and we came up. And what did that mean? And we're not here to talk about Bitcoin necessarily, but we absolutely gapped open on Sunday and continued to push higher all through the evening. And Bitcoin obviously continued to follow. And so this was a nice sign of strength as we talk about risk assets and so on and so forth. Okay, so that was the lead there. That's what's up. So let's now take a look at some of the things from the Sunday trade plan, just so that we can talk about what was working and what was happening. So here you go. This is going to be interesting. And it's kind of laughing at this because this is what I put out on Sunday. This is a very simple plan for this week. My plan is to get long into 05 and watch my ass around 88. Okay. Well, we were way above that. So the undecided zone was 22.25, which is actually where we bumped our head. It's almost exactly where we opened today or the day at. And then I had a spot up into 32. So I didn't take a screenshot of this. I figured I'd just show you guys. This was the 22 right here. We bumped our head on it quite a bit, basically from about 3 in the morning until, I don't know, 8-ish or so. And then we popped up into the 32 4-hour and reached into the 36 1 hour, and they kind of distributed here and we pulled back. So that was kind of a big deal for us for a couple reasons. First and foremost, and I'll show you this. We talked about this in the Discord room, and it's in the trade plan as well from Sunday. Let me see if I can find this. And one of the things that I was really concerned about essentially is a pullback in areas to look for buys. Okay, so you can see this was this red dotted line right here. This is our 22. So there's no denying this is a massive high loss. We had a big options pivot at 05. And I told everybody, make sure you use 05 for our above and below. If this is going to smack, it's going to do it here. And like I said, I'm never sure if it's going to do it or not. It looks like they want more up, et cetera. But the levels that we were really watching, and I gave this to the guys in the room, there was a daily at 01, and then we had 05. And then I said, if it doesn't hold these, we could slip into 88. Okay. So keep that in mind as we're talking about price points here, because this is essentially how this worked out. So here's our trade for the day. This is the 32.36. We pulled back. We were looking for the long around 05, 01, and we actually swept the low. Okay. They triggered this sweep and grab, and here was the 88. So, we came right down into the monthly VWAP. Once we swept the low, I thought, hey, we might be able to grab 88, but I saw them starting to essentially hold this low, and we triggered a failed breakdown or a sweep, a grab, liquidity grab, whatever you want to call it. And the main trigger that I gave in the room was once this 1 hour pulled back up and closed above 05, started adding into this trade pretty heavily, and took them up to 19, and essentially 32 was the last spot we got. Now, we had talked about in the morning, being able to come up and see 51, 55, which is ultimately where we're headed. And we actually can go a little bit higher. So let's talk about that too, because this was in the weekend review as well. This killer pivot at 55.50 is exactly where we ended up today. Okay, that was essentially the top of where we were sitting right now. We closed at about 57. So this 4 hour level gave a humongous smackdown at one point, and we're going to be using this for above or below right now based on our current location. Okay, but this is the area that I want you guys to really look at. So we have a weekly level at 68.83. This is a massive weekly leg down. My only issue with this, and the reason that it's not an A++ setup, is the weekly has never lost. But if you recall, I know that a lot of you guys watched the weekend review. The one thing that does concern me about this weekly, and even though I'm, obviously bullish for a lot of reasons, we played the 660 leg. It was a giant wing play. I think it is a possibility that we create a new all-time high very soon. My only concern is, one, the 68.83. It didn't, we technically haven't lost on the weekly, but a close below 61 gave me a slight tingling of weakness, I guess you could say. So this 83 could absolutely play. It's actually a gap fill as well. So I want you guys to keep an eye on this. My guesstimate is as we are coming here, we have also a really nice confluence spot on SPX. And so, I'm really eyeing this spot. And as you can see, for me, this wasn't an A+ setup because we never lost, but we do have a lot of stuff up here. We have a previous weekly value area high. We have a naked POC, and it's the leg down. So even though I think that this is our magnet, guys, I want you to be careful when we approach here. And I do think that this area can get a reaction. I just don't know if it'll just destroy it. I don't know how large it's going to be. I mean, clearly we have no reason to be bearish. We talked about this in the weekend review as well. And let's talk about this pop, right? So let's just get into it now that we've seen the aftermath. So we had this 660 leg that we called out on Friday. I mean, it was fabulous. I've gotten so many DMs and messages from people talking about it was incredible and thank you so much and it made my week, etc. Listen, we all banked off of that one. That was a great day for everyone in the room. And the really big kicker of this, and I'll hide the other stuff here. Let me pull out my fancy dancy pen. The big kicker of this was the fact that you guys know that I had been talking about the 67, 83, 75 daily leg for some time, because ultimately, and of course, my pen is going to act up on me. It does it every day, doesn't it? Every time we get on here. Let me just reset this thing. So ultimately, what we needed to do was hold that 67, 83, 75. We talked about quite a few times about how if we close below that, we start to lose support on the daily time frame. So on Friday was just an absolutely unbelievable day as far as, the down move and then back up. So here's how the leg goes like this. It goes down, okay, and back up. And this is essentially our sub leg like we've talked about, okay? So I believe this was Thursday. We came down, we played it. We got long, the 67.37. It played for 50 points. And then on Friday, we actually opened below, which I was immediately telling everybody, hey, if it opens below, we're super bearish, right? And we were. I said we come down to 660, and we did. First one was 90, and then 660. We played it, but what was the really kicker part for me leaning to the bullish side was the fact that they reclosed back above the 67.38, essentially never losing this sub leg. So immediately this told me, all right, where are we going to go from here? Well, the top support would be 05, right? Well, they did better than that. They opened above it, right below 22, and then we used it for a pivot today. So I essentially showed you how we played this when we came through, knowing that 05 had been extremely significant to us, both on the way up and down, as we've played it a few times. But, this was the sweep and grab play where we used 01 and 05. And as soon as we saw them come down and was able to essentially close with strength above it, we had a pretty good feeling that we were going to be headed back up. And the guys in the room, we just laid into it, which was pretty cool. So worked out pretty nicely. Was very happy with that. The other thing that I want to show you is, we talk about VIX a lot, okay? And we'll come back to this picture, but we talk about VIX a lot. So this is something that I put out in the room this morning as well. VIX did not gain on the daily. This is the way it looked this morning when we came in. This was the daily. This is the 1 hour, I think. I said, and I believe it'll come lower, but we have this untested daily at 1801 and a 4 hour at 1783, but it did not gain. So this area may only get a reaction and not hold, which is exactly what happened here. My man Zug was all over this too. We watched 1801 play. We were looking for this to fail. When 1801 pushed up, that is essentially when we got our push down on the indices from 36. So this was almost perfect harmony. When 36 or 32 plays and we got the push down, that is exactly when this started to react from our daily here. But knowing that we didn't gain, just looking at this daily time frame, knowing that we were expecting a reaction but not a hold, we just waited for this to fail, and then we were able to jump on this long, and we used the inverse here to essentially give us confirmation as well as the 1 hour close to kind of play into this. So some of the guys really held this real nice, and it worked out great. I unfortunately did not. I was only able to get up to 32, waited for a pullback that never happened. So again, I talk about him a lot in this room. Good job, Zug. You killed it again, bro. He held it all the way up. So very impressive. Good stuff. That was awesome. So with that being said, that is, that was the day essentially. And, one of the things I want to look at right here with you guys, and I'll show you is, what can happen now? Well, right now we've got this big weekly up here at 1883. In my heart of hearts, I believe we can touch this. The other thing that kind of gave me more confidence today was this was a massive area of support that has held from the highs on the ETH. We closed above it. This was a pretty solid close over here as well. And so this leads me to believe that, again, we still have more upside in the tank. We also have a bullish imbalance as well. And so on the volume profile, and, this is the value area high that runs right up into this 88 level over here. I'm sorry, is that 88? What is that? 83, excuse me, 83. So we're still looking for more up at this point, and we just got to figure out what to play. So tomorrow we'll see where we open at. Right now we have a significant amount of support below us. I'm really, really looking at one thing. And again, this could change by morning. I'll just go ahead and throw this out there for you guys, for those of you guys who, that way we can talk about it tomorrow. For those of you who trade with me know that I really don't like to trade anything than a daily or a 4-hour time frame. So for me, that is the kind of moves that I'm looking for. I only look for 1 or 2 moves a day, and I look for the juicy stuff. So, and those actually come from this time frame or higher. So right now, as long as, we came down and we swept 05, for me, 05 is washed. It's still a very important pivot, as that you can see here. And I'll just show you what I mean by that. We held, my pen hates me, by the way. So right here, I'm just going to point this out. 05 right here, you can see it play a couple times. As soon as we got below, we lost it. Now, the same thing applied here. It also applied to the left as well, okay? This was the top right here. We played and smacked, all right? So 05 for me is a massive up or down pivot. We also talked about 88, which they got very close to today. The other thing that they got very close to today, which I thought was very interesting, and I noticed this kind of out of the side of my eye. I'll show you this too before we get into this. This was super cool. So this is a VWAP chart based on the weekly. This dashed line is last week's point of control. So they came down, they played last week's point of control, which I thought was neat. And I can show you on this chart I have up, it'll be easier to see here. They came down, they also tapped monthly VWAP. Okay, so we basically came down into last week's value, right? And this month's value from a VWAP perspective, held it and popped. And this purple solid line right here is the point of control. So, you want to talk about, being in value. We're talking about a monthly point of control, monthly VWAP, last week's weekly value. This was a great retest for us. And so certainly was excited about the pullback. I wasn't so sure we were going to get it, and we did, and it worked. So, I have a couple areas that I'm looking at right now. Obviously, this is the upside extreme for me, which is the 68.83 for the high. We have 72 here as well, which is tested, but we have also had the previous weekly value area high. So for me right now, I'm looking at a pullback, and I hope that we get below the 55 in the middle of the night. For me, the best place that I like, that I'm really looking to buy and just lay into this, is this 4-hour at 68.19. We have a daily leg here at 68.22. So we'll see what happens tomorrow, where we're at. I'll go into more levels in the trade plan once we figure out what happens. We still have the whole evening session for Asia to figure out what the hell is going to happen. The government hasn't quite opened yet. They're still trying to come to a deal, to a negotiation of some kind. And so we'll see it. We'll see what happens in the morning. So what's up, Zach? How you doing? Good to see you. So that's what I got for ES. It wasn't a whole, crazy event-filled day. It was just a lot of buying today. They were just absolutely stuffing it to short sellers today. But, based on our plan, based on what we know, we had absolutely no reason to be bearish. And so we continue to push higher. I had FOMO a couple of good times myself. I almost bought these highs up here at 36. I wish I would have. They back tested the 36 and continued to push higher. But, Jesus, at that point, I felt like I was really reaching. And you can really see when we pull back in here, this is a great spot. We still have the 4-hour and 1 hour here at 29 and all that jazz in 32. But, I would prefer a little bit deeper pullback. I believe this also puts us right in line with I was going to say today's point of control, but it's actually moved up to 30 as well, which is this general vicinity. So this might be a good buy as well for tomorrow. We'll just have to keep an eye on it and see what happens. So that's really all I got for ES, guys. I don't really have too much more, just because of, we gapped up 100 points. It's kind of interesting too. Let's actually look at this. So this is where we finished the day. I'll just pull over the 4 hour on Friday. And it gained on the 4 hour to this push up. We didn't lose on the daily. This was a beautiful back test of 74 right here, the 74 daily pivot that we used on the way down. They back tested it and just grind up all day. So this thing is like, there's no stopping this thing. If 84 doesn't do it, I really believe that we can continue to make an all-time high. We're coming into the most bullish season right now of the year. Get your sleds out. This is the Santa Claus rally is coming to town. The government's going to be open. They're handing out stimulus checks. They're going to lower interest rates again. I mean, this is just going to go up, up, up. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see 7,000 ES fairly soon. So, we are quite a distance away on SPX, as things are slightly different. But we can actually take a look at SPX. You know what? This would be fun. I noticed something on SPX today too that kind of stood out to me here. So check this out. The low in SPX was actually the shoulder, a daily shoulder. We played this and popped up really nice. And we got really close to the weekly here on SPX already. So it's quite a substantial difference of trade location as far as, where we're at in terms of, serious resistance. I think it'll be really interesting to kind of see what happens when SPX approaches this weekly even a little closer. Looks like we missed it by about 4 points. I'd like to see a little bit closer, but once SPX gets above this weekly, there really is no more resistance to speak about. So I wouldn't mind buying this here. This would be great. This is the daily. Let's see. This would basically be our 68.22. This is the same spot. So if we get a pullback into this lines up SPX nicely. We play the support. And if not, I would really want much, much deeper, just like I do on ES, like we talked about from the weekend review. So SPX is lining up for us nice. I have no reason to be looking down. I mean, I'm just, at this point, I stopped shorting. I don't really even see a purpose in it at this point. I mean, I don't like, a lot of guys in the room were short this pullback here, and they made it work from, 32 or whatever. They made it work, but I don't even look for it anymore. I just wait for the long, because until we can lose something of substantial time frame, I mean, they can't lose on the daily. They barely lose on the 4 hour these days, but until they lose on the daily, there's no reason to be looking any other direction. So that's basically it. I will talk about Bitcoin because somebody just brought it up in the comments. And so where do I think this is going? Well, we talked about this essentially in the, I don't know if I talked about it in the weekend review. Maybe I tweeted it, whatever, it doesn't matter. I'll just bust it down for you guys real quick. So, Bitcoin is in an interesting predicament. And here's why I say that. Bitcoin technically hasn't lost on the weekly time frame either. This is a weekly time frame, and this is my leg up to the all-time high right here. Now we're starting to lose support. We've lost this weekly, which means, in all fairness, this 108.244 can back test and smack hard. So when we came down here and we talked about this, I think it was on Thursday, they actually came down and held this very tippity tip 4 hour leg in down here. And once they were able to stay above this monthly, which is where I was looking for to get long last week, as you guys know, we talked about this. Once I saw they were going sideways on Sunday, I basically bought some spot down here at 102.350, I think. And that was the daily. I think that maybe I was a little higher, 102.700, something like that. Doesn't matter. Regardless, we pushed up above this monthly. But now here's the kicker. Okay. So we have an untested daily once again at 102.319, but we have this big monster untested weekly now at 108.244. I really believe this can get hit here. I'm not quite sure how I want to protect myself. You guys know that I like to stack Bitcoin. And if it can break this, we will come up into the 114,500 area. This is also a very logical place, as it's an untested monthly. But again, the monthly time frame hasn't lost, but that doesn't mean that it won't get a reaction, as the weekly is also in combination with it. But this is my main concern right now. I'll just shoot you guys straight with this. So I'm keeping a really close eye on this, because if this plays and it smacks good, we're going to make a new low. And we'll more than likely see 96.4 to 94.5, or even lower in the mid 80s, which would be a godsend. So that would be awesome. But for now, right now I'm just looking to try to get to 108. We've talked about a few crypto projects, and that was one of them. And while I'm thinking about it, Piper keeps rubbing this in, and I know he's watching. So I talked about this in the stream, you guys, and I feel crazy. I talked about how this was be an easy 50% return based on the charts. I never look at fundamental stuff. It's so funny. I got on Gemini to find out why this thing hasn't popped yet. And they basically said that, this is a governance token and it doesn't do anything. So I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to hold this. That makes sense. I've been stacking and buying this for a long time, but I was getting ready to lay into it at this spot right here. I actually bought $4,000 worth at $5.24. And if you guys remember in the stream, we talked about, said, hey, yeah, this first target here, this is like an 86% return. Like, this is a great one. Literally, like a week later, they get here, and I got out of that trade just because. So kind of salty about that, but I just wanted to show you guys that, trust the charts, forget the fundamentals. This worked out beautifully. So that was 87% for those of you who ignored my fundamental talk and actually bought the chart. So super cool. Love to see that work out. Just feel like a tool for getting out of that one. But hey, it is what it is. Things work out for a reason. So that's what I got for you guys today. And don't forget to like and subscribe, follow me, and also check the link in the tweet that I just put out today. Came out today on Substack and X, and you can get 30 days free of the trade plans if you haven't subscribed yet. They've been incredible. I do them every Tuesday through Friday. They come out pre-market, and you'll have them before the market opens right around 8:30. So enjoy that, and you'll get your first one in the morning. So look forward to you guys signing up, and I appreciate you tuning in, and I will see you tomorrow, same time, same channel. Be good. Cheers.